She's the queen of country, beloved for her big heart, big voice, and even bigger hair, but even Dolly Parton has her limits. Known for. But Dolly Parton has her own hair limits. Known for how nice and charming she is, Dolly doesn't say bad things about anyone. So when she talked about a fellow singer as pure evil, it shocked the whole music business. Who could possibly get such a scary name from it? Could be America's sweetheart. The answer: just shock you by being dirt poor to the big screen. Over the course of more than 6 decades, Dolly Parton has been a kind, humble, and charming leader in a business that often does well on. People have praised her not only for her singing, writing songs, and smarts in business, but also for her to keep her heart open and her head down. Dolly told her the secret one time. A long time in the spotlight was just keeping your cool, especially when getting along with other people in the while others waded in the entertainment world into nasty fights and public drama. Dolly, if there was trouble, she often chose peace. Just get out of the situation whole. Not even America's sweetheart has limits. Despite being known for kindness and tactfulness, someone was able to get a response from Dolly Parton that was so honest and powerful that she spoke out. Not only did she answered, but she was very mean. Words anyone has ever heard her say. Dolly didn't just talk about this person as mean, rude, or hard to deal with, she called they were evil. So who is the person who did enough to wake Dolly Parton up to her? What did they do to the core and should have such a scary label? Not just to find out, but to really figure out why this moment was so. You need to know who is shocking you. True story. Dolly Parton was born on January 19, 1946, in a one-room cabin sitting right next to the Little Pittman Center, Tennessee's Pigeon River. Dolly was the 4th of her 12 children. As a child, Robert Lee Parton Sr. was a sharecropper who later went out on his own small tobacco farm that picks up taking on side jobs in construction just to make sure her mother Eileen has food on the table. Owens Parton had 12 children. By age 35, she had her 10th child. Even though they were poor, they had twins. The area around the Parton home was wealthy with music, stories, and faith. Dolly, she says her father's business sense helped her, even though he couldn't read or write, and her mother Welsh heritage for making her who she is today. Woman we know now, her mother's knowing how to sing Appalachian ballads, and Dolly was interested in folktales from a young age. In music, her grandfather Jake Owens was a Pentecostal preacher, made sure the church was an important part of their lives, and Dolly did her first shows in public in front of crowds before she even aged 6 to 7. She made her uncle had the first guitar she made herself when she was 8 years old. Bought her a real one. Music wasn't just a hobby, it saved my life. After getting their high school diplomas from Sevier County, Dolly didn't waste a single day in 1964. Going after her dreams, the next morning she took the bus to Nashville. She was set on making it, and she had already a taste of the spotlight by making a child on TV and radio stations in the area such as the C.A. Walker Show. At just 13 she made her first single called Puppy Love on a small Louisiana label, and even walked the stage at the Grand Ole Opry where she met Johnny Cash, who told her she should trust her gut. Those Dolly's instincts paid off when she first made her name as a songwriter who writes hits. She wrote for with her Uncle Bill Owens, Kitty Wells, and Hank Williams Jr. and got 2 top 10 hits for Bill Phillips, but when she signed along with Monument Records in 1965, they pushed her toward bubblegum pop, who thought her voice was too high-pitched for a country. That changed soon after her song, Put It Off, until Phillips sang Tomorrow, with Dolly on harmony, put her first song on the charts, and the country song, Dumb Blonde, made it to the top of the top 25. Fishy came in close behind. Soon after she released her first album, Hello, My Name is Dolly, and the rest is the history of music. Dolly Parton didn't just survive the business, she changed it. From Jolene to 9 to 5, from her giving to Dollywood, she has stayed loved by many generations. Through it all she's done is refuse to add to the rumors, didn't fight back against critics, and refused to let politics in the industry pull them. She is without a doubt one of the most well-known people in entertainment. That makes what happened interesting even more shocking. Over the years Dolly worked with a huge number of stars, from legends to newcomers. She's worked with them all. Egos cause stress and disagreement, but there's one person who went too far. Even Dolly, I couldn't ignore them. Who are they? Keep reading to find out, but first, let's bring attention to a love story that has been there for Dolly and kept her grounded for Dolly Parton and Carl. Dolly Parton is a lot of things, says Thomas Dean. A famous country singer, a business mogul, a generous person, and a national treasure known for having powerful vocals, having an infectious charm, and signature rhinestone-studded clothes that have stunned her people for decades. But maybe one of her most lasting and little-known achievements is the love story she spoke about, carefully grew behind the scenes with Carl. Thomas Dean, her husband, a man whose name doesn't make the news very often, but heart has always been the most important thing in Dolly's world. Their relationship starts out like a scene from a Southern storybook. The year was 1964, it took place in a laundromat, and it was about Nashville, Tennessee, and fate to step in. Dolly, who was 18 years old, they came to the city with big plans. And even better artists from her hometown at that point. She wasn't yet a well-known name, just a girl with a bag. With songs and a voice that could melt marble. Go to Carl Dean 21. As he drove by in his pickup truck, he saw her outside of the wishy-washy laundromat and felt compelled to do something. Still couldn't explain why. He stopped his truck and yelled at her in a very Southern way fashion. He took a risk, but Dolly not right away swayed, but she asked him to come see her the next day while she watched her nephew. Carl came, and he kept coming back. Dolly remembered it with a smile, and he came up every day to her voice that week, and they sat on the porch. That she wouldn't even take him in house. That front porch, no matter how simple it maybe have been, would become the place where a lifetime of love. In just a few days Carl already told his parents about her. Dolly thought back to what he knew. As soon as he saw her, he knew she was the one he wanted. It was almost certain that some people chase their whole lives, no grand gestures or quick trips, time and space shared by two people putting down roots in each other. Spends their first real date on a trip through the McDonald's drive-thru, and to Dolly was right. She told Carl one time he only liked to go where he could feel at ease, that down-to-earth to build on, simplicity would be key. Of their marriage, there was no Hollywood glitz. The paparazzi parade was only a bunch of private jokes. There was talk and love that grew in the quiet. Despite having spaces between the headlines, there was pressure from Dolly's management to delaying marriage because they think it might hurt her career. Was taking off. The two followed on May 30, 1966. They went off alone to Ringgold, Georgia, avoiding the press. Dolly in Tennessee wore her mother made her a simple white dress and a bouquet of flowers. She had picked herself in the flowers. They found a little Baptist church that wants to get married that day. Dolly told them that that's not a good place to get married, because she wouldn't be happy being married. Like a lot of people in their lives were based on being real rather than a show. Later that same month, Carl went with Dolly to, and her first big red carpet was at an industry gala. She was getting a BMI Song of the Year award for Don't Do It Until Tomorrow. It should have been a bright night, but Carl told her after dinner that he wanted her to have her every wish and that he was happy for her, but don't ask him to go to one of those other things. After that, he never did it again. Carl helped Dolly on her way from a distance, never wanting to be in the spotlight for himself. His love was strong, but private, not caught on camera, but undeniable in every behind-the-scenes part of her life. One time, Carl did something different. Showed up on the cover of her 1969 album Hi, My Blue Ridge Mountain Boy. It has a rough lumberjack vibe that now holds a place in the hearts of country music fans. After he went back into the background where he felt most at ease while Dolly's A Star shot up into the sky. And then there was Jolene. The 1973 song about heartbreak and jealousy is still one of her most famous hits, but as Dolly later said, the real story was a lot more fun. A local bank teller had come up with a Dolly laughed when she heard that Carl had a crush on her. She loved going to the bank because she got paid a lot of attention, and that it was they have a running joke between them. Even though it sounded like a terrible one, instead of a cry of romantic fear, Jolene turned into a sly wink to a marriage that is safe enough to laugh at those little flirtations that you have in life. In fact, humor is one of their best traits. Strengths. In a job interview in 2022, Dolly shared that they both had a skewed view of to laugh, and even if you have a strong sense of for laughs, you usually do something crazy. Being able to laugh about it has been a comfort in trouble and a spark in the everyday and a bond that lasts youth and beauty, but their relationship isn't like the stereotypical person of marriage to one person. In her book Dolly in Front of Dolly, she admitted to having flirty crushes on other people outside of her. Carl knew she would get married, she said. Always go home, and she wasn't having sexual relations with these people she was just dating and having fun. She stressed that their relationship was deeply emotional and devoted, but not always in the usual way. She said that yes, it was an open relation, but not really, and that if she thought he was do that and say he would shoot. They loved her like Dolly herself. Does not fit easy labels. In 2012, Dolly wrote To the Moon and Back from Here, a beautiful love song for the movie Joyful Noise. Even though her character sang to another man in the movie, the words were because of how she felt about Carl. Later she recorded it again with Willie as a duet. Nelson giving it even more weight as a personal song. She said she had to write her a sweet love song. She planned to write a lovely song. Dolly and Carl talked about it in 2016. Got married 50 years ago. Anniversary not with a big party but with a new vow at their house. Dolly told them she got dressed in the most beautiful dress anyone had ever seen and dressed up her husband, telling him he looked like a good-looking guy when it came out of Hollywood. It was small again. Carl was private and deeply sincere, even said in public for the first time that his first thought was that he was going to marry that girl, and his second, some people thought she was pretty. And that was the start of his life. In the years that followed, Dolly stayed one of the women who works the hardest in show business, while Carl lived a happy life out of the eye of the public. Dolly said that he didn't want to be the center of attention at all of them, and that he said he didn't pick in this world. He picked her out during a time of way too much attention. Carl Dean made a living legend of discretion, a man who is so hard to find. Some fans even made fun of the fact that he was real, but he was real, and so was their love. By 2023, when they were in her later years, Dolly admitted she was taking it easy for Carl. She said that she and her husband were going to. She thought she should be older and that she was with him, even though she hadn't. As she got older, she stopped going on full tours, putting time with her lifelong friend's first partner. She said she had no plans to ever quit her job unless her husband was sick and important to have her around, or she was sick and that she hoped would never happen. Carl Dean died at the beginning of 2025. Aged 82, the news came out in Nashville. Shared in a straightforward statement from Dolly's publicist, said that Carl and had many wonderful years together, which words couldn't do honor of the love they had for over 60 years. She thanked everyone for their with prayers and thoughts. He would be laid to rest. Have a private service to honor him. Would have liked. There's a quiet. Dolly and Carl will always love each other. Shared a steady presence under the spotlight, is as stable as the smoky air hills of her youth. In a world that was hungry when it came to drama and declarations, theirs was a love built on trust, simplicity, and the holy beauty of staying, and that while Carl may have told their story before they died, keeps ringing through every note Dolly sings, every song she writes, and every quiet moment she spends on that same front porch where it all began. As long as Dolly and Carl were dating, there was one that might have been grounded. A certain relationship that was very controversial, and it almost tore. Besides Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, Karen Carpenter, and Dolly Parton's, it was so hot between them that it had fans and wives working out. Kenny Rogers worked with a long list of talented people, musicians, over the course of his career. Not one of his partnerships sent temperatures rising as high as his getting involved with Dolly Parton. Musically, hit after hit was played by the dynamic duo. Real love and You Are Like Islands in the Stream. Can't get back in touch with old friends while giving the public a master class on how to stay. Fans wondering if it was really them or not. On paper, the answer was no, but it was said that the chemistry was so thick that a knife with rhinestones on it from the first time they record together. Lights said they were flying so high Nashville could have been run by it. It was true that Rogers and Parton had a flirty relationship that lasted more than 3 decades. He told HuffPost that they were friendly for 30 years, which kept things tense and energetic. Besides that, he joked that their teasing it had become part of their act, though not a single person in the crowd believed it was just being himself. Rumors spread. Fans thought tabloids were crazy, and even close friends had to ask if they ever went too far with their story, said to start in the early 1980s. Rogers's new song needed a spark. There are islands in the stream, Dolly, glitter and all. came into the picture. Rogers remembered in a 2013 talk with People that they had seen each other before Islands but weren't really buddies before they went to work, and they were friends while they were on tour together. But this wasn't a silly, see you at the Dolly's friendship is like an award show called their relationship, soulmate, area. She told CMT that she valued their friendship more than their hit records and said they were nice soulmates who wrote down how she was from Tennessee and she was from Texas. A old country song was always sung to as a bond that wasn't the only song they shared. Reportedly worked together over the years. The book Love is Strange, Real Love, There Is a Fire, and The Sad Once More. She's all just the way their music sounds together that could be felt like butter on at a later date. Parton told Today in 2017 that the same jokes made them laugh. She would make jokes and then ask he shouldn't tell anyone what she told them, putting the focus on their playful relationship with a lot of close emotional contact on. Fans of the display wanted to know if these two country stars had ever giving in to the urge. The answer was no, but they had thought about it, Dolly said. She talked about it in the video for their 2013 duet, You Can't Make Old Friends. There was something unique about how well they got along, calling Kenny one of, saying that there are different types of soulmates. She smiled just seeing him. They always kept their lips and hands together. They told Today that Dolly that they almost looked like brother and sister, that crossing that line would have been like having sex, so they didn't go there. Rogers was more sly about it. He said with a smile on his face, that tension was better if you kept it instead of it made them happy, and their electric push and pull became a selling point that wasn't said out loud. A touch of class to every red carpet performance and interview on TV and in public. It didn't. It hurt that Dolly could say something sharp. Laughed as he told People she was married 40 times and still couldn't have children. Catch him between wives talking about Rogers was married 5 times, so Dolly was always close by. Did some of his ex-wives are angry at him. Marianne, his 4th wife, wasn't really his wife, who was married to him at the time of peak of his and Dolly's work together, was said to have full faith in her. Man, she talked about with Closer Weekly in 2020 year that she never felt bad and acknowledged that he knew him well, their games and teasing, but Kenny always said they were going to lose what they had if they still crossed the line. She also said that Gordon wasn't totally blind. With a smirk that showed they knew Dolly might have moved and that it had gone in her mind, she said Dolly always said she really did think like a man in a fun way. Dolly once joked that if she and Kenny got together, if they had ever hooked up getting ready to leave the hotel room when it was peaceful. When Kenny Rogers died at age 81 in March 2020, the death was felt all over the music world, but for why did Dolly tweet that? It was personal. Hours after it was reported that you may not tell someone how much you love them. She had so many until they were gone. Great years and times with her friend Kenny, and that more than anything else she loved him for his music and success. She told him, wonderful man and true friend. He was safe with God, she told him. I loved him forever. It wasn't just it was a friendship between two people. Spectacle and, for many, the best. What if they fell in love with country music? Had no need for a secret or a steamy affair. Get ready to set the world on fire. The love was real, but it didn't look like how most people thought it would end up. Kenny and Dolly were proof that not each and every connection has to be romantic. Sometimes the strongest the relationships that last are the ones that right on the edge where the stress is simmers, the friendship lasts, and the spark never quite goes out. Dolly Parton, the singer, called Pure Evil the It has always been a mentor-mentee relationship. Was very important in the world of creative work, business, and fun. From ancient scholars who were studying at the wise philosophers to the present-day apprentices picking up information from the industry, sees the link between an experienced guide and a rising star never ending and maybe not. Such being together in country music has been more famous for being bittersweet than that of Dolly Parton and Porter Wagner have a lot of energy. That started out in harmony built up to fame that led to heartbreak and suits. The story was full of awe, success, power struggles, and in the end a hauntingly beautiful goodbye before Dolly Parton became the all-over-the-world love this singing star for her singing, writing songs, and bigger than Elle in real life. She was introduced to the world not by herself but with Wagner, was a man whose act and platform helped her get into the born in 1927. Porter is a national star. Wagner did not become famous overnight. He either scraped and clawed his way throughout in the open and earning a spot in country music history with hits like Happy Mind, but his real game-changer putting on the Porter Wagoner Show in 1960, an event on TV was sent into people in millions of homes and watched by country fans all over the world. America by 1967, Parton had let her go. Debut album, Hello, My Name is Dolly. She had made some noise with singles like Something Fishy and Dumb Blonde. His career needed a boost, so Wagner came along. Was looking for a new duet partner after the fact that Norma Jean is leaving his show. Dolly joined the cast and at first faithful viewers turned it down, but you couldn't miss her sparkle, and as she and Wagner started putting on shows.